Hey, what is up, mortals? It is the Joey Bosco Show here, and before we get into today's video, I would like to say that we have a second channel called Anime Deep Dive. Anime Deep Dive is a channel based on a variety of anime lore. If you're interested in content like this, make sure you click the icon in the top right corner, or check the description below for a link to the channel. Now before we get into the video, there is a few things that I'd like to say. Firstly, a quick thank you to our supporters on Patreon. The full list will be at the end of the video. If you'd like to support us and our content, please go over there and check it out. Now, with all of that out of the way, let's get into the video. After everything had been explained about All Might's quirk, Midoriya's training started immediately the next day. The pair met at Dagobah Municipal Beach Park. Izuku's training was to start with cleaning part of the beach of the mounds of trash that had accumulated over the years. Unknown to All Might, Midoriya had deviated from his aim to pass American Dream plan. Shortly after their session had begun, the boy continued his personal training regimen in the forest, practicing his sword play and knife handling, as well as hand-to-hand combat. Overexertion eventually got to him while training with All Might, resulting in needed adjustments in the training play, and the cleaning of the beach to take a bit longer. By 8 months, the area he was told to clean along with the entire beach was clean. With 2 months left, he had time to experiment with his new quirk. The day after Izuku inherited One For All, he met with All Might at the dump site where they left the garbage from the beach. The new training would begin here. The hero began by changing into his buff form for a demonstration, explaining that,
"When you use One For All, clench your butt and let your heart cry out, saying..."
All Might reeled back a fist and punched a washing machine, crying out,
"Smash!"
After deflating, he gave Midoriya a more detailed explanation before telling his student it was his turn to try, while pointing to a broken down car. Izuku walked up to the car, his teacher's initial words echoing in his head. He let the power surge through his arm, before sending a punch into the car, sending it flying just as his mentor did. Almost as soon as his excitement began, a searing pain shot through his arm. Soon after, they were in the UA nurse's office with Recovery Girl, having healed Midoriya's broken arm. After she lectured the pair about being reckless, and Midoriya rested for a bit, they went back to training. The rest of the 2 months they spent training together, getting Izuku accustomed to his new powers so he wouldn't break his bones. When they weren't training together, Izuku was either studying for the exam or training on his own in the forest. By the end of the 2 months, he was able to regulate and control 5% of One For All. The day of the entrance exam came. Izuku was ready. He and All Might met at the beach where their training had started for a quick pep talk and a wish of good luck before Midoriya was sent on his way to take the exam. As he entered the gates, he got his first real good look at the school. The last time he'd been there, it was brief, and he didn't have time to take it all in. A mixture of awe and determination built up in him along with a feeling he hadn't felt in a while. Anxiety. Training with All Might really helped with his anxiety. He was overall more confident than he had ever been before. But that didn't mean much standing in front of UA, being moments away from taking the entrance exam. His gawking was interrupted when a familiar blonde nearly bumped into him. Bakugo scoffed at him. "Out of my way, damn nerd!" Before continuing on his way. Barely out of his trance, Izuku tripped over himself as he tried stepping forward. Before his face hit the ground, he was floating. A brunette had used her quirk on him to keep him from falling. After explaining that it would have been bad luck if he fell before the exam, and apologizing for using her quirk on him, they wished each other good luck before she ran off. The written exam was easy enough for Midoriya. He had more than enough time to study while training with All Might. The explanation for the practical exam went without much trouble. A blue-haired student made a fuss about his mumbling habit, but Izuku didn't pay it much mind. With an abrupt start to the practical exam, Midoriya was one of the first to move. Still unable to switch One For All between the different parts of his body fast enough, he had to focus on using it on his legs. He tactfully moved, baiting his first robot before moving behind, switching to his arms and smashing its legs. Thinking of foraging some resources from the defeated one-pointer, he ripped out a piece he could use as a blade and smashed out smaller pieces of scrap to pocket. The pieces of scrap metal weren't proper replacements for his weapons, but they'd have to do as he hadn't even thought of asking about the use of support items. Using these new makeshift knives and swords, he continued immobilizing robots, taking out several of them before the zero-pointer showed up. Izuku was ready to run from the giant robot when he heard a cry for help coming from near it. The source of the plea was the brunette from earlier. He had to do something. Midoriya ran toward the colossal robot, trying to immobilize it by throwing the rest of his scrap metal into one of the knee joints before jumping up and jamming his makeshift sword into the mechanical beast. It started tipping forward towards him and the girl. Seeing no other option, he used 100% of One for All. He timed his jump and broke both of his legs, propelling himself into the air, nearly straight up before putting everything into his arm and throwing a punch into the enormous robot's face, sending it flying into the air as it exploded from attack. He had planned to lighten the impact of his fall by breaking his fingers in order to create resistance to slow himself down, but he didn't need to. The girl used her quirk to save him from the fall. Shortly after, Recovery Girl greeted him with a lecture about breaking his bones again before healing him. A week later, Midoriya got his acceptance letter. He placed second in the practical exam with 10 villain points and 60 hero points, securing him a spot in UA's hero course. Eventually, orientation day came. After finding his class, Midoriya was quickly met with the boy who had berated him during the exam, Tenya Ida. His new classmate assumed he perceived the true nature of the exam. Midoriya quickly shot down that idea.
I didn't perceive anything. It's just that giving help that's not asked for is what makes a true hero.
Shortly after his explanation, the door behind him opened. The brunette he met during the exam entered the room, Ochako Uraraka. With her appearance, the topic quickly changed before their teacher showed up. After introducing himself, Aizawa brought the class outside to test their quirks with the threat of expulsion for the student who had the lowest score. Being able to regulate the output of One for All, he was able to place overall right above Bakugo, with the strength test pushing him over. After the testing, Aizawa revealed that the threat of expulsion was a ruse in order to push the students to do their best. With the day ending, Ida, Uraraka, and Midoriya walked to the train station together. The next day of school was uneventful, with the students getting used to their new school until their Hero Basic Training course. On that day, All Might was teaching them and having the class do battle training. Izuku grabbed his hero costume along with everyone else and left to change for the exercise. Izuku's costume consisted of a green, tight, sleeveless shirt with matching baggy pants, seamlessly put together with a red belt that had pouches on each side. It had a cloth mask, bottom half red and top half green, that had what almost looked like bunny ears protruding from the top above his eyes at a slight angle. He wore white, almost shoulder-length gloves that held what looked like one knife each at the top. His boots primarily a medium gray and similar in design to his former teacher's footwear in bulk and protection. A long sword attached to his back, horizontal on his lower back was a sheathed hunting knife, and 4 of what looked like knives strapped to his side. After some small talk and exchanging compliments on their hero costumes, the lesson began. All Might explained that they'd be doing hero teams versus villain teams and the rules of the training exercise. Teams were randomly generated, and their first match was Midoriya and Uraraka versus Bakugo and Ida. Midoriya came up with a plan immediately.
Uraraka, I have a plan. I'll head straight in through the front door. Kacchan is sure to go after me. Make yourself float and try to find the bomb from the outside. If you can, get it without Ida seeing.
Ochako nodded in agreement, and they went in. Almost as soon as Izuku entered the building, Bakugo rushed him with a right hook. Predicting this, Midoriya dodged the attack, taking out his sword and charging his arms with One for All, and jammed the hilt into Bakugo's abdomen, sending the boy back coughing. Enraged, Bakugo screamed and cursed at Midoriya, getting in close again. Using every possible surface as the dance floor, the two danced a violent tango, explosions lighting up the floor and shaking the building. To the class of 1A, it appeared as though the fight was even, but Midoriya knew he was starting to slip behind. He could only power up certain parts of his body with One for All. He couldn't switch between his arms and legs fast enough, and the time between switching was causing him to slow down more and more as they fought. He started slipping up.
I have to make some distance now. I won't be able to keep this up,
he thought to himself. With Katsuki's next attack, he slid under the blonde, taking out what looked like a knife with a rounded tip, and depressed the tip against the explosive boy's leg. A wire wrapped around the leg that the knife went against, and electricity shot through it, causing Bakugo to fall to one knee from the pain, screaming, "Shitty Deku!" as he fell. The angry blonde ripped the wire and hilt off his leg before turning around to see his opponent was at the opposite end of the hall. Just as he was about to blast his way over to the green-haired nerd, a knife was sent flying towards his face. He blocked it with one of his gauntlets, and as soon as he let his arm down, Midoriya was in his face with another one of those knife-like devices. Blocking the attack with a giant explosion from his grenade gauntlets, he didn't realize what Izuku was actually up to. After the explosion was over, they heard All Might over the speaker.
Bakugo Katsuki has been captured. Please make your way out of the building.
Bakugo looked down, shocked to see the arm he used to pull the pin on his gauntlet was wrapped in capture tape. Midoriya snapped him out of his shock.
I couldn't beat you in power, and we both know how even we are in skill. So I had to surprise you with the capture knives I made as a support item.
With anger welling up inside him, he left the training area as requested. Shortly after that, the announcement that the bomb had been captured happened. The class reviewed the match, impressed with how everyone did, and continued on with the rest of the matches. With each match, Izuku took more and more notes on everyone until the class was over. After school, Bakugo waited outside the entrance for Midoriya, and soon enough, Midoriya came looking for him. Bakugo was the first to speak.
What the hell, Deku? What was that? Since when do you have a quirk? You're supposed to be nearly useless, barely capable of fighting. Were you tricking me? Laughing behind my back this entire time?
Determination filled Izuku as he spoke.
I never tricked you. This power was given to me by someone else only a few months ago. I can't tell you who gave it to me, but I'm still learning how to properly control it. Even with this power, I was only able to win because of Stain's training and your lack of knowledge about the capture knives.
Bakugo walked away, saying he'd take his rightful place back on top soon enough. The next day at school, Aizawa lectured Midoriya and Bakugo about their personal grudge, getting in the way of training before announcing that they needed to pick a class president. With Ida's recommendation, the class voted Izuku as president, and Yaoyorozu as vice president. During lunch, Midoriya, Ida, and Uraraka made small talk about their lives and why they wished to be heroes. Their conversation was cut short though, as an alarm went off, causing the school to go into a panic trying to get out the threat of an intruder. After seeing it was just the media, Izuku asked Uraraka to make him float. He activated One for All in his legs and informed everyone what was going on from the ceiling. The act cemented his role as class president. The day ended with them picking the rest of the student council body. The next time they had class, they were doing rescue training. The class gathered up their costumes, changed, and went on their way to the USJ, talking and getting to know each other better on the bus. When they arrived, 13 starts explaining what the place is and what they're going to do, but gets interrupted. A swirl of black mist appears near them with a hand sticking out.
Will Midoriya be able to help out during the USJ attack? Also, the sports festival is coming up. How well will he place? Will he intern with Gran Torino? Or will he have more offers and choose someone else to work with since he has better control over One for All?
Thank you all for watching the video to the end. Now there is a few things that I'd like to go over before the video ends. Firstly, I'd like to let you all know that we have a merch store. Some of the items in it are only available for a limited amount of time, so if you're interested, go into the description and check it out. Each purchase helps us make more content. Secondly, I'd like to thank our $5 Patreon supporters for helping to fund these videos. Lastly, on behalf of We the Celestials, I'd like to thank the writer for this video, as well as the editor for this video. Their details will be in the description. If you're a voice actor, editor, or writer, or you're interested in becoming one of those, go to the Discord that is in the description of the videos and head up the head of one of those areas. We're always looking for members to join us. That's it from us for today's video, so thank you all for watching, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you're interested, and hit that like button if you liked the video. Until next time, peace out mortals, have an amazing day.
Eyes in the sky, gazing far into the night. I raise my hand to the fire, but it's no use, 'cause you can't stop it from shining.